Welcome back. It is hard to leave our pets at home when we head off for work or fun, especially when those big eyes look longingly at us as we leave. But sometimes being left really stresses an animal, and they don't know how to cope. Mark Chambor, owner of Canine Korral, is here to help us better handle our pets' separation anxiety. Mark, this is such a real thing that so many dog owners deal with. But before we start talking about ways to help that, you, of course, have boarding, doggy daycare, and you see lots of pets that are thrilled to be away from their owners.
I do. In our daycare, we have a lot of dogs, but they don't necessarily always come in happy to begin with. They too have separation anxiety from their parents as well. And one of the things that we have to do is we have to condition them very slowly, and before you know it, they're dragging their parents into the place.
Exactly, because they learn how fun it is.
Tori, he could not even get through the front door. And now he's like my best friend. He's jumping up. I'm carrying him all the time.
Aww. Well, that's, they like to be there.
That's Ellie. Ellie, same thing. Very scared at first. And this is the product of socialization and training, getting them out and about. This is Taco. Taco, that's the cutest picture I've seen in a long time, who was very afraid. And in the back is Cheyenne, who also was the same way. They generally come in scared. Some are a little bit more fearful than others, and just because it's a new experience. The nice thing about the daycare, there's Noodly and Ellie again, another Ellie. And Noodly, it took 2 months. The white dog, it took 2 months for her to adjust, and now she drags her dad in. This morning she dragged him in. And here we've got Katie, which is again very fearful, very shy, but the daycare has gotten her out of her shell, and even though I still pick her up and love on her, it's only because I love on her. It's not because she's so afraid.
Well, and that's one of the things is that, obviously separation anxieties can be worked with, but we can't always do daycare. Sometimes dogs do have to be left in the home. So tell us why some dogs have such extreme separation anxiety.
It's really unknown as far as the whole cause of it. It is typically or statistically more in rescue dogs, and I think it's because they've been rehomed or their life was a little bit different. It wasn't the fun puppy and stay with the same people all the time.
Fear of abandonment.
Yes, definitely. But it is a behavior issue, and I find that dogs are a part of a pack, so being away from their pack is foreign to them. So we have to condition them to say, hey, this is how it is here, and you're not always going to be with us.
Right, but you still will be okay. So the big thing is how we make them feel that they will be okay. What are some of the symptoms that dogs show when it's not just sad you're leaving, that it's true anxiety? What happens?
Well, I'll tell you, first you have to decide, is it what they're doing, is it a behavior issue because they're not trained, or is it something because they're stressed? Meaning that if they're defecating or urinating, that's part of the stress for separation anxiety, but that could also be part of the...
Well, if we come home and see...
This is Nilla. This is classic Nilla. When I got Nilla, she broke out of her crate. She just couldn't. She couldn't live alone. Same thing, and it's a process of conditioning the dogs so that they actually know that it's going to be okay for you to come home. But you can have destruction. And all she wanted to do was be by me in this case. And there she is, all stressed. This was, when I got her, it took me about a month to actually, she's not fixed, but it's managed. You can have sometimes the dog will take a shoe and just put it on your bed and not do anything with it. But that typically means that the dog has been stressed while you're gone. Some of them escape, some of them, there's a lot of different reasons what happens, but your blinds are torn up, all that kind of stuff. You want to rule out, is it because it's a young dog and it's bored, or is it just typically stressed?
Okay, so you mentioned some of the causes. It could be a young dog that's bored, because that does happen. What other things do we very unintentionally do that cause anxiety for the dogs?
Well, one of the big things right now, kids are going back to school. So all of a sudden the dog's with the kid, the kids, maybe mom or dad or a teacher, or they're seasonal, everybody's gone, the house is empty. So they're like, what's going on here?
I'm having that trouble at home.
Sometimes you want to rule out a medical issue, of course, if there's anything going on with that. But I would say that Another issue would be change in family, maybe kid went off to college, that type of thing.
Right. So any type of change can trigger the anxiety.
It could be a retired person that's been with the dog for so long and then decides to go and get a job.
Okay, so there are all sorts of things can kick it off, but you have some things that can actually help it, because we can't stay home all the time, even though we'd like to.
There's a couple things that, and remember, this is managing it. What I've done with Nilla for 1 month, I used the CBD products that I have here, and what I would do is something called, first of all, I would dose her with the CBD, and I would do it on a daily basis.
And it looks like there's a bunch of different products from...
Yes.
Are those treats with CBD in them?
There are treats with it in, which gives her something to do, which you could have, if you leave the house, you could give your dog one of these. Give the dog a job to do when you leave. I would dose her with the CBD, and then I would do something called counter conditioning. I would leave her with a treat or something that's good, and then I would leave, and then I would come back.
Okay.
And then the other thing is, by them, counter conditioning means that you're going to have something that's happy, counteracting something that's stressful.
So you're taking away the bad of leaving by getting pleasure at the same time.
The other thing you want to make sure of is that do short stays, like maybe have her stay and you go into another room, then stay, go outside, then stay, leave for a while. Every time you come back, though, you're not going to be doing this big hurrah. You have to make sure that it's nice and calm, because we cause a lot of times the separation anxiety.
Because we make a big deal about leaving. I'm guilty of that.
And you go, oh, I'm so sorry, I have to go, and that type of thing. But really, making sure that the dog understands that it's okay for you to come back. And by doing that, it takes a lot of these trips.
So there are things we can do. We hate to leave the pets, they hate us to leave, but you can do it in a way that's better for both of you. To find out more great tips like dealing with separation anxiety, you can find Mark and Canine Korral online at caninekorralsrq.com. We'll be right back.